This video is going to be very hard to make. Bear with me. I might have to stop a few times, pause, and edit some emotions out. But I don't want to be too angry, too upset. I want to tell the truth the best way I can. This is my second part of a video about why my family left Jehovah's Witnesses after being part of it for almost a century. So we're going to focus on Jehovah's Witnesses' problem with child abuse and how this is not an apostate lie. This is truth. It has affected my family for over 50 years. So we're going to start the story in 1968. My grandmother had 3 kids. She was single and Jehovah's Witness. She married a single witness guy who'd just been baptized a few years. I think he was baptized in 64 or 65. I get different stories from my grandmother and my mother. And he was a good-looking, guy, so my grandma married him. And my mom was 14 at the time, and within weeks after the wedding, he started to abuse her. This went over several months. And she still was a Jehovah's Witness. She still pioneered and did all the other things. She went to the congregation servant, because remember, this is 1968. This is before the elder arrangement has come in, and they really didn't do anything about it. All right. And we're going to get to why and how I found out about this. So let's jump ahead a little bit, about 20 years. So my mom's married. My sister's, she would have been about 13. I would have been I was 11. And my brother would have been almost 10. He would have probably been 9 at the time. So in the summer times, we would go and stay at my grandparents' house. But my parents both had low-paying, not good jobs, so they never had a career or went to college. So we would be either with my dad's parents or my mom's parents. And I never liked my step-ex-grandfather. He was a very violent person. He would snap at you, he'd whip you, whatever you did wrong, he would just be full of anger. And it's kind of funny because my dad's father never became a witness, but he was always nice to us as the grandkids. And I would always tell my mom and dad, why is our witness grandfather so mean and our non-JW grandfather so nice to us? You get the JW speak, whatever. So the summer of 1988 was a record for heat drought. I can clearly remember this entire summer. In parts of the mid-Atlantic, we had like 22 days of over 9 degrees, and it was dry as can be. That winter was one of the warmest winters I can ever remember. It was a hot year altogether in the mid-Atlantic area of the United States. And it was so dry that the ground was cracking. There was just a drought. So we were outside, but I got a sunburn for being pale skinned that year. So my brother and I were playing in the basement. Now remember, my parents are a few hours drive away in Pennsylvania. And it wasn't just my sister, my brother, and myself at the house there. My grandfather had children to his first wife, and they were there too. And my brother and I were in the basement, we were playing, and we came upstairs and we saw my grandfather's hand down our cousin's pants. So it would have been my cousin by marriage, whatever. He zipped him up and acted like nothing happened. Well, my brother and I were scared of this person. We didn't say anything of it. And remember, we're like 11 and 9 at the time. So like the next day, he saw him grab her butt, her breast. I saw like 2 or 3 other little things, groping. Then my brother told me he saw it too. So we decided to wait 2 weeks until my parents picked us up. And we told my parents. My parents said, okay, we'll handle this. Now, they didn't call the police. They didn't do anything about it. They called the elders up. So we drove back a few hours drive back to my grandparents' house, the congregation, and it was the strangest judicial committee I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know what they were doing, But before the meeting started, the presiding overseer, who was the chairman of the committee, took my mom and I and my brother aside and put us in the back room and said a statement that I still don't understand why he said it. I can remember clearly as day, even though this was 30 years ago. He said, the statute of limitations has expired in your case. We can't hold what this man did to you because it's been 20 years. And I turned to my mom and I'm like, what do you mean? What's he talking about? Well, she didn't want to say anything at the Kingdom Hall. So the judicial committee started. The three elders were on the stage. Just imagine, standard quick build Kingdom Hall, left, right, center. My mom, my kids, I started looking at So on the right was myself, my brother, and my mom. In the center aisle was my cousin and her mom. And on the left side was my step-ex-grandfather. And we're all together in a meeting in the front row debating with these three elders. I've never seen this before. He called us liars. He made it all up. The one elder said the same thing. All kids lie and make up stories, and it's not true. Later on, I found out that two of the three elders owed my grandfather money. Like, why are they even on that judicial committee? So he wasn't disfellowshipped. The police weren't called. So afterwards, I was mad he wasn't disfellowshipped because, in my opinion, at the time, in my mind, he should have been. The elders were the highest authority. I didn't even think about the police at 11 years old. I just thought, go to the elders, let the elders fix it. And I was upset he wasn't disfellowshipped, but I was more upset that my mom let us stay there in the summertime every year, and here he had molested her. And I asked her about it, What was he talking about? And she kept lying and denying it, and finally she said, yeah, he touched me a few times, but it was no big deal. And then I'm like, well, why'd you let Deanna, my sister, stay there? Well, I thought Jehovah would help him, and a lot of times when Deanna was there, I was there, and Grandma was there too. I'm like, well, he's not over it. So, I got baptized the next year in '89. I still became a witness. That didn't shake my faith, but that was my second brush with child abuse in my life with Jehovah's Witnesses. So here my cousin and my mom were both abused in '68 and in '88. Both times the police were not called. Both times the person was still a good JW. But the one thing out of that situation is my grandma did believe me because my brother and I saw it. So it was actually 3 witnesses who saw it, not just 1 or 2. And she did leave him, and she moved in with us the following year. And she was not free to remarry, because she left him. So the elders were really mean with her. She wanted auxiliary pioneer the next year. They won't even let her auxiliary pioneer in the new Kingdom Hall because she divorced a child molester, whatever. So, yeah, that's what happened. So, my wife and I, we lived in Lancaster County right after we got married, and I lost my job. The place went out of business. So I moved to York County, where I grew up in '99. I went back to the congregation I was in when I was a little baby till I was 5, Red Lion, Pennsylvania. So my wife and I were pioneering in '99, and I was appointed a ministerial servant earlier in the same year, and there was a regular pioneer in our congregation. All of a sudden, she's November of '99, she's removed from the pioneer list, and she's disfellowshipped. And I didn't know anything about it. I was just a ministerial servant. But later on, when I became an elder, I found out what happened. Here she was 26, and she had a 2-year relationship with a 14 to 16-year-old boy. The elders knew about it a couple times, tried to stop it, and they didn't. They tried, but they didn't call the police. Nothing happened. Now the elders did tell the parents of that boy they could call the police if they wanted to, but think about Jehovah's name. Do you want to put reproach upon Jehovah? So that was the first incidence I learned of child abuse in the Red Lion, Pennsylvania congregation. And even back then, the elders broke state law by not reporting child abuse in that congregation. Then we're going to talk about my daughter. So, we had 2 kids. They were 4 and 2 at the time. Yeah, my son wasn't 3 yet. In October of '05, my uncle was deleted. Excuse me, let me start all over again. In the summer of 2005, my uncle was deleted as an elder in the neighboring congregation of York, Anna. And we didn't know why it would happen. So he moves in, and him and his wife had adopted two kids, and they were much younger than us. They were teenagers, and the one boy was always, there was something weird about him, but I didn't think anything negative of him. So he's basically my adopted cousin, but he's like a teenager, and I'm in my mid-20s at this point. And they were in our hall just a few weeks. So it was a Wednesday morning for field service. Now, I was the territory servant for like decades, almost every hall I was ever in. Even as an elder, I was still a territory servant. And after the elder conducted the meeting for field service, he had left. Now, this was probably about 9:15, 9:20 on a Wednesday morning. It was the first Wednesday in October of 2005. My wife and her pioneer buddy had a study. They left right afterwards, and they took my son Sam with them. So my daughter Abby was going to go with me, and I'm giving out territory assignments. And my daughter's like right here. She's like right on my left side, and then she disappears. Well, okay, it's Kingdom Hall. There's only like a couple people left. It's like 9:30. I can't find her, so I walk around the Kingdom Hall, and I'm not worried or scared. I'm just walking around. And in the lobby, there was this great big tall bush. It was probably 6-8 feet tall. And behind the bush, my cousin had my daughter on his lap, and he had his hands up her chest. And at first, I'm like, well, maybe he's just giving her a hug. And sometimes these things happen. I didn't really think anything of it, but it was weird. And I saw his eyes, and I saw that look, and I'm like, something's not here. So I said, Logan, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. I'm like, okay. I took my daughter out in field service, didn't say a word to anybody. Nothing. That following Saturday, we had our special assembly day at Granville, Pennsylvania. And I was a super zealous person. I loved the service. And a lot of the elders in the Red Line congregation, when it came to service, were very, very lazy. They put the token bare minimum in always. Even up to the point I left, those elders were not service focused. None of them pioneered. There's a couple actually like service, but the rest, remember, we had like 16 to 18 elders in Red Line most times. And so they asked me, they said, hey, Martin, can you take the group out Sunday morning? I'm like, sure, I'd love to. I'll be out Sunday morning. So there's no meeting on Sunday because of the special assembly day of the day before. And again, I'm conducting the meeting for field service. Now my son's only 2, he's not potty trained yet. So during the meeting for field service, my wife had to take him back and change him. So she's in the bathroom. And after the meeting for field service, I know this kid's here. Logan's here, he's in the room. And my daughter disappears again. And again, she was right on my left side, and I was handing out territory assignments for the second time in 1 week, and she's gone. I can't find her. Now I'm panicking. And I knock on the bathroom door, and I said, Jen, is Abby in there? And she's like, no. And I'm scared, because I didn't even tell my wife what happened on Wednesday. So our elders' room had 2 doors. There was a door in the coat room, and there was also a door behind the literature counter. So I walked over to the door by the coat room, and it was locked. Now my heart just stopped. I am panicking. So I walk around to the coat room, and it's open. And on the chair in the elders' room was my cousin with his hands down her underwear. And I knew what he was doing. I could see it. I screamed at him. I yanked her off. I said, don't you ever touch her again. I said, this is it. You're in so much trouble. I wanted to kill him right then, but I'm in the Kingdom Hall. So we left. We went out in service. I told my wife what happened. I told her about Wednesday, and she's just flipping out. How could you not, yeah, I know, I'm a horrible dad. I'm sorry. And yeah, so did a lot of praying. That didn't do anything good. But I went to, on Tuesday, I went to my uncle, and I said, hey, last week, 2 times your son touched my daughter. And he was so humble. Oh, he was such a loving, oh, I'm so sorry, my son has problems. He was abused before we adopted him, and fetal alcohol syndrome, and we lock him in his room at night because he peeps in women's windows, and he's been arrested for this and that, and he likes to watch his mom get dressed, and he hides in the camper in her room to watch her get naked, and he keeps going on and on. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's too much information. I'm just telling you. And he goes, we'll take care of this. And I said, well, I'm going to the elders about this. This is not just between me and you. As soon as I said that, he just flipped. Because this man, my uncle, all he cared about was face. All he cared about was what people thought of him. He didn't care about Jehovah or helping not one person. He just cared about reputation and his prestige. And when I said I was going to the elders, because I followed the Bible, I went to him first, and then I was going to go to the elders, he flipped out. And I said, okay, whatever. So after the meeting, I went to the elders, and 2 elders investigated the case. They broke their own procedures because they never called the branch the initial time. They really poo-pooed it. Nothing happened. He was not removed as a publisher, no discipline, and they're really saying you're causing divisions in a congregation. Like it was my fault, that I was the problem, not them. I said, okay, whatever. We'll wait on Jehovah. Hunker down. Now, mind you, it was my daughter saw this the second time. I was there, and there was an older sister who has since passed away. She saw him do it too. There was 3 witnesses. Nothing happened to it. Whatever. So that was October of 2005. March of 2006, I regular auxiliary pioneered. I auxiliary pioneered just for that month. It was the memorial or the circuit overseer was there. I don't know which one it was. I think it was memorial season. And I worked 3rd shift, so I had plenty of time to do it. And because I was a crazy person back then, I went out in service till 3 o'clock. And then I would go home and sleep till 10 and go to work 8 hours. I worked 3rd shift. I don't know why I did that. So my wife dropped me off at 3 o'clock. And I'm in bed. And 3:15, 3:20, she comes flying in the door, screaming and crying. Like, what happened? What happened? Here, they went back at 3 o'clock to regroup, because in Red Line on Wednesdays and Mondays, they went out late, sometimes till 9 o'clock. So there was a group going out at 3 and at 5 and at 7. It was a waste of time. All those regroups every 2 hours, but whatever. And she didn't even know he was in the building. And Abby went to the bathroom, and he grabbed her. And now that time nobody saw it, but she come running into the kitchen in the hall and says, "Mommy, Mommy, he touched me again. He touched me." And so my wife just got her out of there, and just ran home. Now I'm furious and I'm mad. I'm calling the elder, and the one elder, the 2 elders who handled my case had moved to a neighboring congregation, actually Yorkana, the congregation where my uncle had come from. And I called him up, and I'm like, I need to talk to somebody who's on the case. And he's like, whoa, calm down, it's okay. I said, no, did you call the branch? Well, no. Well, you didn't do your job. So then I called the service department in Patterson, and this nice, loving man says, oh, this never happens. Don't worry about it. This is so far. Jehovah's going to be with you. We love you. Very nice man in Patterson. But the following Sunday, I got called in the elder's room and yelled at because, I called the branch, and I should have done that, and I overstepped my authority. Now this time, the elders did take us seriously. They did investigate it. He was disciplined. He was removed as a publisher. He was not baptized yet. He couldn't give talks, and my aunt's screaming at me, he'll never be able to pioneer. He'll never be able to be an elder. You ruined his life. And then she's accusing me of being abused as a kid. I made all this stuff up, and I kept telling her, I wasn't even there the 3rd time, and the elders like, we'll watch him, we'll protect him, we'll protect you. But I kept telling the elders, wait, all 3 of these times weren't in a public meeting. They were at a meeting for field service. Are you going to guarantee that there's going to be an elder every time there's people out in field service? You can't. So how can you, and at the time, Red Line had about 40 kids under 10. 40 kids. It was a big congregation. We would average 180, 190 on most Sundays, and about 130, 140 on Tuesdays. It was a big congregation. And they said, we'll take care of it. But you can't tell anybody in the congregation. You cannot tell one mother, one father that there's a child abuser in the congregation. This has to be confidential. Okay, I won't do that. Then they're like, you can call the police. But again, think about Jehovah's name. You think about the reproach. Really, should you call the police? And again, I didn't. I did want to go to Walmart and buy a gun and kill him, but I didn't do that either. So we had meetings and meetings and meetings about this, and I was punished for calling the branch. I couldn't give talks for 6 months. I was taking my responsibility from Territories, the magazines, doing mics, and they kept saying, oh, we want you to focus on their family. Just focus on them, their spirituality. we'll handle all this later, but it's really a punishment. So that was my daughter's experience. Now, again, looking back for 11, 12, 13 years ago, I wish I would have woke up. I wish I would have taken her out of there and protected her. I failed her as a father. I failed her, but I was brainwashed. I was indoctrinated. So, in 2011, I was appointed an elder. And many of you who might watch this might be elders or no elders, but when you are appointed an elder, the first meeting, the first quarterly meeting, they fill you in on everybody. It's like Gossip Central. Every single person's spirituality, what's going on, they tell you about everything. So it was just like a tidal wave of information. So my cousin wasn't the only person in Redline. So I learned more about Jennifer Baptista that I never knew before. That I knew that the elders knew about it for 2 years. Then I found out about another person who had moved into our congregation and who, in the previous congregation, had kidnapped, when he was 19, his 14-year-old sister and raped her. And the elders knew about this, and we weren't allowed to warn the congregation about this. That was the third person in Redline. I learned about another young man who was my age, who, previous 5 or 6 years before this, had disappeared for 6 months, and I kept asking, where's Josh? What happened to Josh? Oh, he moved to Scranton. Oh, okay. Elders lied to my face. Lied to my face. So when I became an elder, here, Josh's mom, even though he's in his 30s, was still living at home, not married, and his mom had a daycare center. And he takes a shower, walks out in front of a room full of 30, 40 toddlers, 2, 3, 4-year-olds, drops his pants, his towel, and plays with his stuff right in front of all those kids. Now, they weren't witnesses, so of course their parents called the police. And of course he was arrested and put on Megan's Law's website, and he went to jail for 6 months. He didn't move to Scranton, Pennsylvania. He was in jail in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And again, I learned all this information. I'm like, what the fuck? Sorry. But again, did I wake up? Did I stop becoming a witness? No, because I'm an idiot. And I still believe it was the truth and perfect man. I did miss there's a lot of little points I missed throughout the time, but when my wife went to the circuit overseer after the third time with my daughter, the circuit overseer said, oh, this never happens, we're so sorry, it happens very few and it's not a big deal and we'll take care of it, we'll protect you. He was a nice, loving guy. We'll get to him later on, though. We learn more about this circuit overseer. He's also a pathological liar too. But let's just focus on these other people in Redline. So you have a woman who had a 2-year relationship with a 14-year-old boy when she was 10 years older than he was. You had a teenage boy who raped his sister. You had my cousin who molested my daughter in the Kingdom Hall. You had a man who exposed himself through a room full of kids. But that wasn't it. There was one more case in Redline while I was an elder. And if you can search her name, you'll find out who I'm talking about. So in the York-Anna congregation, now imagine Redline's in about the south central part of York County, and York-Anna is about 9 miles to the northeast. It's not far at all. And this young girl at 14, 15 was molested, was actually sexually assaulted by a woman and a man, 2 witnesses in the congregation. And the elders knew about it, police weren't notified, this and that, yada yada. And she left the organization, but she'd come back. But she'd been married a worldly guy. So she wanted a fresh start. So she decided to go to Redline instead of York-Anna. Well, she was having all kinds of issues. So her husband said, go talk to the police, go to the elders about it. So she goes to the elders in Redline about this abuse. Even though the elders in York-Anna know about it, but they didn't know everything. So then there's an investigation committee formed in Redline. Now, again, I'm not on the committee. I wasn't those 2 elders, but the entire 18 elders knew about it. Everybody's discussing it, so we all knew what was going on. Well, she was told not to call the police, but she did. 2 detectives from York County came to the Kingdom Hall and subpoenaed our records, took a search warrant. Now, we had an emergency elders meeting, and our coordinator said, we got to make sure they don't take the rest of the files. Because remember, this Kingdom Hall is old. We got judicial committees going back cases in the folders 40, 50 years. And they're worried they're going to grab other records. So the coordinator said that he got directions from the branch saying, destroy all your personal notes in this case. Now, why was that okay in their mind? I'm not justifying the Watchtower, but I was the chairman on I was on 4 judicial committees. I was the chairman on one of them. And the chairman is supposed to, after the committee's over, all the other elders compile notes. The overseer, the chairman, is supposed to take those notes, type up a report, and destroy those notes, and then have that one piece of paper in the folder. And our coordinator said, since this case isn't officially over yet, we can destroy the notes, and we can just, So when the police came, they got her letter of introduction from Yorkana, her publisher card, and just a few other pieces of paper. That's it. That's all they gave her. And the police didn't get anything else from the elders. So I could have helped her, but I didn't. I was an idiot. Again, I was brainwashed. The next year, before we moved to Prospect Congregation, I learned one more case. So my uncle wanted to become an elder so bad, and he wasn't going to get reappointed, a ministerial servant or an elder in Redline. So he had money, and he picked a congregation in Delaware that had no elders, no servants, and he bought land for the Kingdom Hall, and he let them build on his land, and he moved down to Delaware. So right before I moved out of Redline, we had another emergency elders meeting. And I don't know when it was. I don't know if it was the spring, summer of 2013. I wish I would have wrote it down. But my cousin touched another girl in the Delaware congregation. And he also had touched a girl in Yorkana that the elders knew about but did not warn the families, that he also forgot to say too. So again, our coordinator had to call the branch. The branch wanted us to send all the records, all the notes from all the meetings down to the Delaware. Even though the Delaware congregation had their publisher records and letter of introductions, there was still a folder with my uncle and a folder with my cousin, and they did not want that in Redline. They wanted it all in Delaware. So it happened again. And the elders had the power to stop it. They could have stopped it from my daughter being abused. They could have stopped it from some little girl in Delaware. Now, do I know who it is? No. Do I know how bad it is? No. But I did know it happened again. So that's just a little tidbit of the little tip of the iceberg of the child abuse that happened in my family. Now, afterwards, because again, I have my 2 other uncles are elders. My aunt is married to an elder. They're both pioneering. My other aunt and uncle are the director of the corporation, the missionary in Kenya. So when we get together, it's all this. My dad's an elder. All this. My father-in-law's an elder. So there's all this fighting. We split the congregation in 2. And they're taking his side, not my side, on it, which is disgusting, horribly disgusting. And we actually went to a family get-together a couple years later, and my aunt from the missionary said, oh, isn't it great when you can just put things in the past and just focus on beautiful things? And disgusting woman. So after we woke up, I became very vocal in trying to get this message out there. And I contacted lots of papers, lots of reporters. In 2016, nobody wanted to pick it up. Nobody wanted to touch the story at all. But I kept working on it. And I was on JW Survey all the time. And I had to take a vacation in February just to use it up or I'd lose it. So I took a whole week off in February of 2017. And I'm at the car wash, washing my car. It was a nice, beautiful, sunny day, and there's a long line of cars. And I have my phone waiting, and I'm looking at GW Survey, and I see that there is a court case next week in Philadelphia about a young girl who was molested in October of 2005 in the Spring Grove congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? Because, again, To put it in context, York is here, Red Line is here, Spring Grove is right here. I gave talks in both congregations. Spring Grove is the next congregation to the west of us. York is to the northeast of us. My daughter was molested in October of 2005. Now here, another girl was molested the same month. We had the same circuit overseer. So I called up the lawyer, and I'm talking to the paralegal, and the lawyer calls me right back. He tells me to come to Philadelphia. I'm in a disposition with him, and I'm going to testify in that court case. I'm going to be a witness for the that little girl who's now adult. Which makes me upset. There's so many things I can talk about this case. Some things I can't say. But that circuit overseer lied to my face when he says this never happened, because he knew what was happening in Spring Grove. That went on for 2 years before that woman was disfellowshipped for having relations with a young 13 to 15-year-old girl. It was totally unrelated with my case, but it was happened the same month in the same circuit. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Of course, the Watchtower did not want me to testify. They fought and fought and fought and tried to strike me, but the judge kept saying, nope, 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 because it was going to be a perfect storm against them. Because here, my daughter was molested at the same time. The elders handled the exact same way they handled it in Spring Grove. Because Watchtower was blaming Spring Grove was blaming the Watchtower. But now they would lose. And then I was also an elder, so I can show them that they hadn't changed their policy. Even after the October 1st, 2012 letter about child abuse to all the elders, even that special CAM school we had about child abuse, they really hadn't changed anything. So I also told the lawyer about theocratic warfare or spiritual warfare. I showed him printouts and bound volumes, how it's okay to lie. So he had that subpoenaed as documents the Watchtower had to produce. So again, Watchtower was getting their asses handed to them without me, but they did settle right before I was going to go on the stand. So I did not get my day in court yet, but that'll happen later on. So that's another case just in this area of Pennsylvania. So again, am I an apostate? Yeah, I'm proud of it. I am an apostate. I left my faith. Am I demonized, mentally diseased? No. I think clearly more than ever. Do I wish I had a reset button to go back and fix all the things that I did wrong? Yes. I disfellowshipped 2 people. I took 2 people away from their family. Some days I still can't sleep because of what I did years ago as an elder. I'm sorry. I am sorry for counseling people for not getting enough service time or meeting attendance. I wish I could do it all over again, but I can't. But now I can help other people. I can show that this is real. Now, so where is my case happening? Again, I can't say too much about it. We do have a pending lawsuit against Watchtower after the legal cases are done. So in 2016, my wife took my daughter to the York County Police, talked to a detective. Now, this was like a cold case kind of thing. He was in no hurry. So in 2017, they opened an investigation. Finally, in October of 2017, about a year after this whole thing started, they finally issued a warrant for his arrest. Now, there was no high priority for him to find him. I knew where he was living, but, So in April of 2018, the Philadelphia Inquirer ran an article, front page, Sunday News, and an actual elder saw that and called the police and gave them the tip where the attacker was. So he was arrested, spent a weekend in jail. He was arraigned in York County, and he keeps trying to postpone the case, but he has reached a plea deal with him about this. And his sentencing will be on December 4th of 2018. So just in a few weeks, he will be sentenced. I don't think he'll get a strong sentence, but it'll be something. After that case is over, then my lawyer will file the civil lawsuit. So that's my story with Jehovah's Witnesses and child abuse. And again, I wish I could go back to 2015 when my wife showed me Jeff Jackson lying at the ARC. I wish I would have woken up even in September, 4 or 5 months sooner. But that didn't wake me up, and I wish it would have. I feel sad about this. So, if you are a victim of child abuse, Don't be ashamed. Don't feel like it's your fault. It's Watchtower's fault. They are the ones who did this to you. If your family members were assaulted, again, it's not your fault. Watchtower allowed that to happen. It's a perfect area where one person can molest a person in one congregation, move to another congregation, and only the elders know. Can the elders provide protection? No, because it could happen in a meaningful field service, it could happen at a hall cleaning event, it could happen in an outside activity event at the Kingdom Hall, it could happen anytime. So know that you're not worthless. You are important. I love every single one of you. I wish I could help everyone. If my story helped even one person, this was the best day of field service in my entire life. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you so much for everything you do too. Have a great day.